The Venn diagram for good acting and good animation is a circle. You can't have one without the other. To improve the quality of their animation, Disney, or more specifically, Disney animators Ollie Johnston and Frank Thomas, famously developed the 12 principles of animation, which are detailed in their book The Illusion of Life, and are now the basis of all animation work. But what do these principles look like in action? Let's talk about the 2010 3D animated film, Tangled. Well, to keep things simple, we have our protagonist Rapunzel, who has been locked up in a tower for 18 years by her mother Gothel. Gothel wants her hidden away from the world, but despite that, Rapunzel desperately wants to see the floating lights that shine every year on her birthday. Let's dive a little deeper. Rapunzel, an 18-year-old girl with 70 feet, or just over 21 meters, of magical golden hair. She's spirited, determined, creative, but she has a duty to obey her mother's wishes. In fact, when she does manage to break free from the tower to pursue her goal, she has a mini breakdown. Speaking of her mother, what about her? Mother Gothel is the villain of the story, a centuries-old witch who had been previously using a magical flower to keep herself young. But when the queen falls ill before she can give birth to her daughter, that flower is taken away from her, and those magical powers are transferred to the princess's hair. When the princess is a baby, she steals her away so that she may continue to stay youthful. Despite the fact that she cares about Rapunzel, all she really wants is the power that her hair can give her. If we work through this scene, we can clearly see the dynamic that is between Rapunzel and Mother Gothel. For a little context, a few scenes ago, Rapunzel had previously asked her mother to see the lights. However, she was quickly shut down with a song and a side dish of manipulation. I love Gothel's entrance here. It's so fluid. We've got some really nice arcs with her head and body. The flick of her hands and fingers give us some nice secondary action to complement the main movement of her body. Everything is exaggerated as well. People don't usually move with this much flair, but when she's happy, Gothel is a really dramatic character. And even here, where she swings her hips to walk over to the counter, she's dancing. The animation of the clothes is really well done. There's an animation principle called follow-through and overlap. It's most evident in cloth and hair physics, as seen here and here if we quickly rewind, but it also works with limbs. Look at Rapunzel's hands here. Her body moves first, then her hands follow. We can even combine this with another animation principle, slow in and slow out. Her hands don't just suddenly stop moving. Even when you think there's no movement, look closer. It's just the slow in, slow out. It's so incredibly subtle, but it really livens an animation performance because that's what happens in real life. Humans don't move stiffly like robots. Humans are dynamic, our movements are fluid, and this subtlety is what makes Tangled amazing. One of the most famous animation principles is the squash and stretch. Look at Gothel's face here. Look at her eyes, her brows. See how they squash down, then stretch up? There's even a little bit of follow-through with the eyebrows. She's right up in the camera. We're seeing how intimidating she is to Rapunzel. Again, so subtle, but it brings so much. Right there. Another animation principle, timing. We don't need to see Rapunzel's face, but we can see her caution, almost the regret, the submission as a result of making her mother angry. Rapunzel goes quiet, she makes her body smaller, she relents. There's also a very nice arc when she steps forward to the chair. Even the staging in this scene reinforces their differences. The lighting on Rapunzel's side feels warmer, more yellow, as opposed to Gothel's side, which is more white. The image of the floating lights literally stands between them. Now, in animation, 2D or 3D, it doesn't matter. There are two different workflows, pose-to-pose animation and straight-ahead animation. Both of these characters in this particular moment on screen have most likely been animated using the straight-ahead workflow. There aren't any of the strong poses that usually come with pose-to-pose animation. If we quickly rewind back to Gothel's entrance, this was definitely done using the pose-to-pose workflow. These poses here, 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 and here are very exact. They'd have to be, and are good examples of solid drawing. There's a lot of dynamic movement here, and it would be so easy to lose track of all that if you tried to animate this on the fly. There's one last animation principle we haven't covered yet: appeal. Now, this animation principle is based on the charisma of the performance. Not only does this pertain to the character design, all the other animation principles must be present for appeal to be present. In this minute-long scene, we've covered nearly every animation principle. But is appeal there? I'd say so, but this is also one of my favorite Disney movies, so I might be a little bit biased. So, let's look at the facts. Tangled's art direction was inspired by Pinocchio, Cinderella, and also Jean-Honoré Fragonard's Rococo art style. The set was inspired by Fantasyland at Disney World in Orlando, Florida, because the directors liked how romanticized all the objects and buildings looked. So much work has been put into this movie, and that's resulted in a $591.8 billion at the box office worldwide and an 89% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So yes, it's not just me that says Tangled has appeal.